Hi everyone, it's Kristen Redman, and today we're going to go over those planetary aspects that are surrounding us and affecting us for this week, January 16th through the 22nd. And boy, what a bugger of a week we've got again. I tell you what, last week was pretty tough for a lot of people because we had so much of a highly charged emotional energy that happened on Thursday with all of these aspects that hit at once, with the Grand Cardinal Cross that happened, with the full moon energy that happened in Capricorn and Cancer, this highly charged emotional energy, which was this fight between what is it that I want versus what's expected out of me. And this light was shined on all of these aspects in our lives where there's these cracks in these foundations on various levels, whether it's family or work or on a national scale. There's all these things that happened last week that really shined a light on those cracks. And through that process made everybody so emotional, full of aggression, full of upset, and there was a lot of tension that resulted as a result of that, saying there's all these cracks and this is this problem and this person's fault and da 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 da. A lot of that happened last week. Okay, so this week that energy kind of subsides, but unfortunately we got Mars coming through, and Mars is the initiator of the zodiac. It likes to say, okay, we got a problem, let me take charge, let me take the lead, and let's get this fixed, and let me charge the way. And Mars doesn't really stop to think. It just wants to charge through, and it wants to get it done. It wants to initiate change. And this week Mars is coming up across a lot of opposition, and in a lot of ways, okay? First, Mars is getting challenged today on Monday as it makes its annual alignment with this asteroid that's known as Chiron. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. Where it lands in your birth chart is going to represent where your life's greatest wound occurs. But it's known as the wounded healer because in the process of you going through this wound, which kind of repeats itself throughout your lifetime, you become like an expert, I guess, in that wound. And ultimately, through that expertise that you have, you're able to help others heal themselves that are going through that same wound. All right. So we got Mars coming through there today, and by golly, that's a frustrating situation right there, because Mars has to deal with its shadow side. It has to deal with the wounds that it causes because of its shadow side. And where Mars has a beautiful side of being passionate and full of drive and motivation and leading others into being their independent selves and itself to be independent, the shadow side of that, of course, is impulsiveness, because it doesn't think before it acts. Unfortunately, the shadow side to that is anger. The shadow side to that is misdirected passion, overactive passion, maybe, and an overuse of its desire for independence, which kind of leaves others hurt in the dust, okay? Sometimes when it acts on those passions, it burns things, because Mars is such a fiery planet, and it blazes trails. But in the process of not thinking, sometimes we hurt others because we're so passionate about what it is that we want that we don't necessarily think of the emotions of others that are involved, and it can burn some foundations and burn some things that hurt the other people, and we don't realize that. So today and this week, because this energy carries through as Mars transits over this Chiron, this greatest wound, where Chiron says, I need you to stop, and I need you to see where these wounds happen because of your shadow side. How do you cause these issues within yourself first, is what it's going to say. And that threatens Mars. It makes Mars go, wait a second, no, I don't like that. I don't want to be called out. And it feels threatened by it. And it's not aware of its own power. That's the problem. Mars thinks it's initiating and it's leading and it's doing the right thing, okay? And it doesn't recognize the power and the shadow side that it has to it. So in that process, there is this immense potential for growth, okay? Recognizing that shadow side, recognizing where our anger leads to us, recognizing where our inability to lead ourselves as well. It's about assertion, about asserting ourselves. And maybe as Chiron and Mars align this week, you realize where you're unable to assert yourself in certain areas of life Maybe not just the areas where you overly assert yourself, but where you don't assert yourself. And that also leads to a lot of great wounds, because the problem is with these things, anger and aggression and passion and drive and ability to assert ourselves, ability to lead, to be independent, okay? If we're not able to really express those things, what happens? They get smashed down in here, right? They get internalized, and then it ends up boiling and bubbling, and then you have all of this aggression that's built up inside. And that's just, by golly, not a good thing. And Chiron is saying, let's take a look at this, okay? Why are these happening? Why are these blocks there? Let's work through them. Let's push through them. Let's recognize them, and let's do the Chiron thing of healing them, all right? You're going to feel a lot of that bubbling up this week. And one of the best ways to do it is, yes, absolutely, face it head on, okay? That may be through arguments. Somebody may call you out on something where your Mars energies have gotten the better of you, or maybe somebody puts you and backs you into a corner where you absolutely have to assert yourself this time, and there's no longer a matter of internalizing it and pushing it down. No matter what, this is a chance for you this week, of all times this year, because these two don't align all the time. This happens once a year. We're able to really deal with that, okay? And go and see how it affects you on an emotional level, because this is happening in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is a water sign. It's very deeply focused on the emotional aspects. How is this affecting you on an emotional level? And let's heal that. Let's heal the emotions of others by working through that, okay? Don't be threatened by it. So that's one thing. Deal with that puppy head on. Or another thing too is we feel these things building inside of ourselves, right? And it creates this like boiling pot of just energy, right? What's the best way to channel that energy? That's what Chiron is asking you to. How do you channel these Mars energies of yours that you have? And the best way to do it is through physical activity, all right? Best way to do it. So we're thinking, what does Mars need to do? How do you get that aggression out? How do you get that aggression out? Person out there that I'm talking to. For some people, maybe it's going out and playing some basketball, doing something that's competitive, because that's very Mars too. Through that competition, we work out that aggression. So maybe for you, that's the case. Maybe for somebody else, it's doing yoga. And through that process of meditation, you're able to view those blocks and view that aggression and let it go through your breath. Maybe for some people it's something a little more physical, like I said, like basketball, or doing Tai Chi, or doing karate, or doing running, or even just a brisk walk or something along those lines. And maybe for some people it's the Mars energy of literally of sex too. Maybe it's a passion buildup that's blocked up, and that gets brought to the forefront, as that's a wound for you that needs to be healed this week. There's so much Mars energy, and I know you know what it is, one of those things in there, and it's getting called to the forefront this week. Just to start, that's the start of this week, everybody. Oh my goodness. And then Mars is going to be squaring off with its arch nemesis, Saturn, this week too. This happens twice a year. This is going to happen again in October, and October is such a pivotal time, but we'll worry about that guy in October, okay? Let's worry about this week, what that means. You got Mars, it's the gas, it's the engine, it's the drive, and you got Saturn, and Saturn is the restrictor. Saturn holds it back. Saturn sets the boundaries. Mars doesn't like boundaries. Mars wants to blaze on through and burn them down. And Saturn's like, no, we're stuck in tradition, and we're going to stop, and we're going to look at this, and we're going to think about this. So Saturn is restricting Mars this week, preventing it from moving forward and pushing through, okay, because it's got to deal with some wounds about its shadow side, thanks to Chiron. So there's a lot of energy that happens with that. Foot on the gas, foot on the brake. A lot of that energy is going to be carrying through this week. And I think through all of those frustrations that occur out of that, as you face that this week, I think the best thing to do is just acceptance. That's all you can do about this energy this week, because there's nothing really you can do about it except for face it head on and accept it. Accept what it is that it is, okay? Whether it's a new president taking office that you don't agree with, you have to learn to accept that that was part of God's plan. This would not have happened. Anything in your life that is causing these frustrations would not have happened unless it was part of God's plan. For all of us, or on a more personal level, these things would not have happened unless it's part of the plan. Okay, acceptance. That's the key of this week. Okay, and to work within these existing structures of what's going on here instead of trying to push through and rebel, which is difficult. Okay, we have to just deal with it for this time being. Okay, and like I said, another part of it that makes it difficult is because we have the sun going into Aquarius this week, and Aquarius is ruled by the planet of Uranus, and both of those aspects in astrology have to deal with liberation, breaking free of the chains of the past. All right, so there's a lot of that momentum and light being shined on those things for every single one of us in so many ways. Liberation from these chains that hold us back this week, that we want to change them, and Mars wants to change them. And I guess this week Saturn's saying we're not quite there yet. Let's deal with our shadow side first, the blocks of our past first, before we can charge into the future and really be our true authentic self and work through that. So the good part of it is, okay, for this week, because yet again we've got another week of highly charged emotions, all right, thanks to the Chiron and Pisces and Mars being in Pisces and all the squares and struggles and butting heads that's going to be happening because of it. Interestingly enough, because we've got the sun going through Aquarius, Aquarius is a very emotionally detached sign. So luckily I have this feeling that we are, even though we're going to be dealing with some touchy subjects, we're going to be able to emotionally detach from that and really look through a lens of rational thought, which is going to be very much needed through this week. As we work and become aware of these internal restrictions we have, we need that logical mindset to say, okay, how do we want to change this? Okay, moving forward. So you got all that going on with Mars. Okay, this week's going to make the biggest impact on those Aries friends of ours because you are ruled by Mars. So these are people that have Mars as their sun sign. If you are a birthday Aries baby, this is going to be a real tough week for you. You're going to feel real restricted this week. You're going to feel your independence is really, really stifled, and the real you is really stifled. This week's really calling you to see those impulsive sides of yourself, calling that out and asking for healing through that. So this is going to be people with a sun sign, a moon sign, or an ascendant that lands in Aries. You're going to be affected most this week. All of us are, but especially you. And then on the shadow side of it too, the other people that are going to be most impacted by it are our Capricorn friends as well, okay? That's going to be people with sun sign, moon sign, or ascendant, and a Capricorn as well, because Saturn is your ruler, and that's who's really butting heads the most with Mars this week. You are the one that likes to set the boundaries and the structures, and this week your boundaries and structures are really tested, okay? Not just like how we set, it's kind of that same idea like Mars is. Where is it where you try to restrict things and control things that is getting called out? All right, those things are becoming more of aware of your internal restrictions as well, too, because sometimes you get so stuck in those boundaries, you don't want to go past them. You don't want to get out of them. And no matter what, Mars is going to be pushing that through with the power of Chiron as well, where those structures have created wounds for you as well. Okay, so a lot of emotional restriction for everybody this week as well, because we have the moon squaring Saturn this week that kind of brings to this energy too. So a lot of emotional restriction that happens, which like I said is fine because it helps us to review those boundaries and go to the past and look at our shadow sides. You're going to feel like you're going it alone a lot this week on an emotional level. And a lot of reviewing your commitments, all of those commitments that you've made, those boundaries you've set, a lot of that, what they really mean to you, okay? Especially our Capricorn and Mars and Aries friends that are really affected most by it. But by golly, at the end of the week, we got that rainbow because the sun goes into Aquarius, helping us all really start focusing on how we want to free ourselves from all of this energy. I am so glad I'm done talking about it now almost. It's like I'm like, oh, well, I'm done over this frustration of that. So let's look at it as a healing week, thanks to Chiron, okay? We're going to be dealing with these things head on, but let's see what archangels are around us also this week as we fight through all of these blockages, okay? Oh, archangels who are with us this week, come on through. through the stones. Oh, it's like it's shooting right through my hand. Wow. Okay. Oh, isn't this one something? Wow. Okay, so we've got, it's weird, I was thinking of Raziel earlier too. Archangel Raziel is the one that helps us recognize our dreams, okay? He's the one that comes through literally our subconscious dreaming state at night and helps us understand. I know myself, just for an example here, I've been having crazy dreams the past month or so, and usually I can remember those, and I'm not able to remember them. But last week, with all that crazy energy that was happening around that full moon, I started remembering a lot of my dreams. And a lot of them are bringing some issues of control, and where you don't have control, and for those Mars, that shadow side of yourself, a lot of that was coming through. I see a lot of that happening for others, clients of mine that I've talked to, friends of mine that I've talked to, having that same issue. Raziel helps you remember those dreams, okay, while you're sleeping and working through them to bring healing. He is the angel for Leo, and Leo is the most healing, physically healing of the signs, very esoteric sign that it is, and he also heals through the spectrum of the rainbow. He cleanses and clears all the chakras. This week I see him asking you to call on him directly. And if you have a clear quartz, we all have a clear quartz. Go outside. There's quartz everywhere. Michigan is just full of it. The crust of Michigan is full of quartz. Go out there and God will help you find one. And just kind of go through from the base of your spine all the way up to the tip top of your head and ask for Archangel Raziel to radiate that rainbow of colors of healing light through to cleanse and clear those chakras, to remove those toxic energies. He helps us recognize our dreams in waking life as well, where we're shooting for. What are these long-term goals? Because as Mars and Saturn square off with each other, ultimately what it's doing is helping us to reset our structures and goals for the future. Okay, so he's working with us this week, healing things on all different levels and helping us to manifest what it is that we want. He's the magician. He makes things happen. So strong. He's so strong. Because he's also the angel for me. I'm a Leo too. And I'm feeling that Leo is the opposite and shadow side of Aquarius. Okay. And that is always an internal struggle of, it's kind of that same thing again about being your true authentic self and having the confidence and the courage to do that. So he's helping to heal that this week. Wow, he's so strong. And I also use, this is the stone I use when I go to cleanse a building or a home or a residence of some negative energy that's built up, because Raziel goes through that and he cleanses and clears that. So there could be a lot of activity around for people this week as well in their homes. I guess I would say call on Raziel for that as well. And of course, Archangel Michael. I'm going to shuffle this 5 times for Leo. Leo rules the 5th house of happiness, just ultimately happiness in our lives. And we're going to see what Raziel has to say this week with his energies. My golly, this is a long video. I'm sorry, everybody. So much energy this week. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time because I was yapping. Okay, very strong. Ooh, golly, yeah. Wow, isn't that something? What a powerful card Raziel's brought through for us. Golly. Okay, so the 8 of Air is a very mentally trapped card. It's saying that you feel trapped and that you cannot move forward. You've imprisoned yourself with your thoughts, and you feel that you can't move past them. There's a prison. I see this in a lot of ways too. Because we've got these emotional wounds that we're working through this week, that Chiron's forcing us to go to that shadow side where our anger has gotten the better of us, our passion's gotten the better of us, our inability to assert ourselves or over-asserting ourselves has gotten us into these prisons, and you feel trapped. This card reminds you that you really are the only prison keeper in your life. You're the only one that keeps yourself trapped in these limitations that you see around you, because ultimately you have that key to let yourself out of jail any old time you want. And a lot of times it's a mental prison that we put ourselves in. And it's an illusion of being trapped is what this card indicates. And you know what that key is that self-confidence. And how ironic is it that we have Raziel coming through, the angel for Leo, that is the sign of confidence. Inner confidence, that lion, that inner lion that's getting called out to ultimately push you to do what you need to do through your confidence in yourself and your abilities. And that individual you that you are, that the Aquarius sun is going to shine a light on for you throughout this month as it transits through that sign. And don't be afraid to take action, okay? That's the thing. This card is saying, let's free ourselves from these things. Don't be so scared. Don't be afraid. Wow, I feel that energy so strongly this week. What a great card, Raziel. Well, let's pull a little bit more out of that. Okay, this one I will for sure do 5 times. I swear. See what more we're pulling out of that to help remove that block. Impartiality. Wow, isn't that something? We don't want to choose a side. We don't want to choose a side, so we stay stuck in those mental prisons, don't we? Because we don't want to push beyond them. We don't want to go beyond them. Isn't this something? I see this in so many ways. This, like over and over and over again, I see this as the scales of Libra being balanced. And I see that as like the judicial system and things being fair and things, the fairness of things is what they keep talking about, the fairness. Hold on. We don't move because we don't want to take a side because we feel that we've been jaded. We feel that we've been wronged. And we put ourselves in these prisons and we put up these walls and these boundaries with others because of something that happened in the past. And this week, Archangel Raziel and Chiron are asking you to let it heal. Let it come through. And don't choose a side so much. Let's go down the middle of it, okay? And just face it head on and deal with whatever emotions come through. I don't feel so much emotion. It's a lot of thought this week because we've got the air card and we've got so much with the sun moving into an air sign. Focus on those thoughts and ask for that healing to come through, okay, this week. Through another emotionally charged week. But you know what? Next week we're going to be focusing more on breaking through. I guess this week, just deal with those energies that come through and know that Archangel Raziel is coming through, cleansing and clearing and removing all those toxic energies as Chiron breaks through those wounds of the past and helps us to move solidly in the future. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. Thank you. Bye.